October 28, 1943. The Philadelphia Naval Shipyard. The world was engulfed in the darkest days of World War II. The Allied forces were desperately searching for an edge, a technological breakthrough that could turn the tide against the devastating German U-boats. And according to one of the most persistent, terrifying conspiracy theories in American history, they found it. But the cost was too horrific to ever admit. The legend centers around a newly commissioned destroyer escort, the USS Eldridge. The story claims that the Office of Naval Research, working with theories allegedly developed by Albert Einstein and Nikola Tesla, attempted to make the Eldridge completely invisible. Not just invisible to radar. Invisible to the naked eye. They equipped the ship with massive, experimental electromagnetic generators. When the switches were thrown, a thick, greenish fog allegedly enveloped the ship. Observers on nearby vessels reported seeing the Eldridge begin to shimmer, then fade, until all that was left was the empty impression of its hull in the water. The ship had vanished. But it didn't just turn invisible. It teleported. For a brief, terrifying window of time, the USS Eldridge was reportedly seen in the naval yards of Norfolk, Virginia, over 200 miles away. Moments later, it vanished from Norfolk and reappeared back in Philadelphia. The experiment was a spectacular, reality-breaking success. Until they boarded the ship. When the green fog cleared, the Navy officers found a nightmare on the decks of the Eldridge. The crew had been subjected to forces that the human body and human sanity was never meant to endure. Some sailors were violently nauseous and completely disoriented. Others had gone entirely, irrevocably insane, screaming and thrashing on the deck. But the most horrific fate befell the men who were caught near the massive generators. During the teleportation, the ship had momentarily lost its physical form. When it rematerialized, the sailors had rematerialized with it. Some of the crew members were found fused into the solid steel bulkheads of the ship. Legs embedded in the deck. Arms trapped inside the steel walls. They were alive, screaming in unimaginable agony, their organic flesh perfectly merged with the cold metal of the vessel. Others simply vanished entirely, never to be seen again. The Navy immediately aborted the project. The surviving crew members were heavily debriefed, sworn to absolute secrecy, and many were allegedly placed in mental institutions. All records of the experiment were supposedly destroyed, and the Philadelphia experiment became the holy grail of military conspiracies. For decades, the U.S. Navy has flatly, categorically denied that any such experiment ever took place. They produced ship logs showing the USS Eldridge was in the Bahamas during October 1943, nowhere near Philadelphia. Skeptics argue the entire story is a complete fabrication. The legend traces back to a highly eccentric, deeply troubled man named Carl Allen. In 1955, Allen sent a series of bizarre, rambling letters to a UFO researcher named Morris Jessup, detailing the horrific fate of the Eldridge crew. Allen claimed he witnessed the teleportation from a nearby merchant ship. Researchers believe Allen may have fundamentally misunderstood a real, routine naval procedure called degaussing. Degaussing involves wrapping ships in heavy electrical cables to neutralize their magnetic field, making them invisible to magnetic sea mines, but certainly not invisible to the eye. It is highly probable that the Philadelphia experiment is a myth, born from a misunderstood anti-mine technology and the overactive imagination of a single man. But the story refuses to die. It touches a deep, primal nerve. The fear that in the dark, desperate corners of wartime laboratories, governments are willing to shatter the laws of physics. Willing to tear a hole in reality, regardless of the horrifying toll it takes on the men trapped inside the machine. Subscribe to Echoes in the Dark, new mysteries unsealed every week.